can't uncut it, obviously, right? So let's talk about the simple and easy things before we even pick up a knife, right? Is to clean this up. So I'm grabbing on, I'm touching, I'm feeling this thing, I'm grabbing on pieces of the silver skin, and I'm pulling up what I can pull off by hand, right? So now we're going to pick up a knife, right? It's a curved, this is not a bending, boning knife, this is just a curved fillet knife, right? So what we have here, if you look on this piece of meat, we can kind of see this off here, right? This is what's called the chain, right? The chain has a lot of sinew in it and a lot of fat. What it is, that sinew and that fat and that silver skin are all pretty much intertwined. So it's very hard to. If you have a chef that can go through and pull those things apart, you end up with just a little bit of scrap meat to like make a snack out of. Right. So let's look at this, right? We all see this right on the top? That is silver skin, right? That's what I'm talking about, is in most major cuts of your steaks, to where you're eating a ribeye and you're searing it off on the steak, and that ribeye starts to tighten up on itself and it turns into not a ribeye anymore. It's kind of like an oval shape or a big wonky, looks almost like a Pringle, right? That we're gonna take this out so that doesn't happen, right? And you could do that on any steak, right? So the way that this gets important is to use a thin curved blade, right? So I want to open myself up here. I'm going to very lightly underneath the skin, just put that knife underneath the flap here and come out the other side, right? And so I'm gonna turn my knife around and come towards me, and I'm putting a little bit of tension so I can feel the knife. And so what you wanna, I've just made a tab, right? I've given myself a little handle to hold on to. And so what I'm gonna do is put my blade on, pull the tab taut against the blade, and I'm just going to work that down, right? So what we try to achieve is no meat on that piece of silver skin, right? So I'm just gonna take and clean this piece of meat up for you guys. And all we're doing here is just pulling this silver skin off. And you can't really do, like I said, you can roast these off super hard. Question, go ahead.
Doesn't it give you more like chewy taste?
When you eat the silver skin?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't, that would be where I wouldn't even consume it or even try and eat it. It's literally like rubber. It's terrible.
Oh.
So, now we're coming through. I flip this thing upside down, and we see like some fatty areas right here, right? And this is a perfect example. I want it to all look like that, right? And so all I'm gonna do is just very lightly pull some of this meat off. So, we've gone through, let's just double check, make sure we're getting all those areas with our silver skin in here. And just look at this, right? We've cleaned all the silver skin off the top. Maybe there's a couple nips in here. Now, if I wanted steaks from this, we're talking about getting, I can go from there to there and take center cut steaks, and that's where you get a steak from, right? What we're gonna do in this application that I have right here is I've got my little hibachi grill going on in the outside right now. All I'm gonna do is just take some salt and pepper, a little bit of oil, and we are going to sear this guy off. We're gonna sear the outside off and then cook the rest of it up to temperature in the oven. Right, so just get a nice good crisp on the outside. Go ahead.
Grapeseed oil again.
Grapeseed oil again, that's what we're gonna use, right? And then most people say, okay, are we boycotting olive oil at this point? I'm not boycotting olive oil, but when olive oil burns, it gets olive oil is already tannicky. And when it burns, it's almost carcinogenic for you. So it's actually bad to consume. And I want to put a nice hard roast on it, right? And I'm watching this as it goes. Because with our high heat and our coals that we have rocking, it will go very quickly. Thus, we're not cooking the whole thing up to medium rare where it is right now, right? We're gonna sear off everything on the outside, keep it raw on the inside. So that's all we're doing. All right, so let's look at this, right? While we can get it. Do you see right here, we're kind of, what we all know the classic grill marks, right? Our grill marks are supposed to be black. No. Grill marks, there's different colors of roasting, basically, if we want to look at it. So, we're still maintaining, we're kind of rotating it. It's a little bit easier to work with when it's one whole big chunk of meat, right? I can control it a little bit better. It's not 10 steaks that I'm trying to sit there and get perfect grill marks on it. Like, this is party food in my mind, right? Because it's easy to work with, it's easy to put out. You can slice it all in one go and then just leave it out and let it hang out. Like, you know, a little soft, warm tenderloin.
Question.
Go ahead.
How do you know if it's a rare, medium, well done, or so?
So thermometers are the best way to do it.
Oh,
Temp it out, right? No, there's nothing more perfect than a thermometer. Ready? Let's go through those temperatures as we're doing, right? 120 to 125, rare, right? 125 to 135, mid-rare. 135 to 140, that's where you're medium, mid-well, well done. Anything above is, when it starts to push off blood, or when it starts to push off that juice, that's when you know you've hit the mid-rare range, right? And so look at this, right? You kind of see this end is obviously a little bit thinner than this thick end here. This is gonna cook faster than that, right?
Right.
Simple understanding how meat works, right? This isn't, the dead center of this right here is not gonna be well done, and the outsides, you're like, so we're just kind of working this thing around. At this point, if you want to go for grill marks, go for grill marks. I'm doing it because I want everything to kind of look like this nice, deep, dark brown all the way through. And you know what? You get a little bit you get a little bit of blackness. It's not the end of the world, right? I'm gonna pull this off. It's just about rare right now. And what we're gonna do is, before I even throw it in the oven, I'm gonna get a temp in the middle of it. And then from that temp, it kind of gauge for how long I need to be in the oven for, right? And then I'm checking it in the oven, right? I want to bring this up to about 125, this temperature of this thing, before I even go into the oven, because then it's going to gauge how long the whole thing actually takes, right? So, very simple, very easy. I just put a sear on the outside. Let's go get a temp on this thing, and then we're gonna make salad dressing right now. On top of that grill, it literally, in the center of that steak, has to go from 35 degrees to 125 degrees, and the outside of that steak's gonna be burnt by the time you get down, by the time the center gets up. So what we've done by letting it sit out is cut down that temperature jump, right? So the inside of that steak, 50, 55 degrees, and now we're jumping to 120. So it makes that transition of temperature that much easier on the steak at least. So I'm going in at an angle. I want to get the dead center of this steak. And so look, it's sitting at 69 degrees right now. So we need to literally bring this up another 35 degrees, right? 35, 40 degrees. Because what I want to do is, let's talk about carryover cooking really quickly, right? So we all know that when we pull that steak off, if we were to cut into it right then and there, all the juice would come out, right? So the reason we talk about resting meats for a reason is because of that purpose, right? There's still juices flowing in, like they're still working their way around, right? So when you put a fresh cut into that situation, it's gonna create an area for all that juice to just simply leak out, right? Then that meat, because it's so hot, has pushed all its juice out. So let it sit and hang out. This is what I was talking about. And bring it up slowly to that temperature. So this is gonna go in the oven. And Gage is gonna help us watch that. Everybody always following me. So
What's your oven on?
it's on 375 right now, but we're gonna watch it.